Selfish people don't consider how their decisions affect others. Their own convenience is all that matters. Bottom line, be careful who you make kids with. My name is James and this is my take on reality. Let's get it. To keep it fair, the same type of woman that made Kobe and Emily's relationship possible is the same type of woman that would put herself first and deny Kobe the opportunity to meet his son for the first time after 2 years. Kobe can be shocked but not surprised. What happened? Emily took it upon herself to arrange a date night without considering or consulting Kobe. No surprises here. Fun time Emily made it a priority to get her back blown out. This is insanely insensitive because Kobe has been looking forward to seeing his son for over 2 years and has been relegated to watching his son grow up on a computer screen, only to be told at the last minute that he has to put in some back work if he wants to meet his son the next day. The biggest betrayal in this situation is it's the mother of his child, Emily, who unilaterally took that right and that ability away. This speaks volumes about her approach to parenting. Understanding that she's been filling the role of a single parent for the last 2 years, I don't question that. I only question the logic in making sure that you get yours before your son or fiance gets theirs. Regardless of Kobe's sexual performance, he is going to be Kobe's father for the rest of his life. How about making sure Kobe will first fit your child as opposed to making sure Kobe fits in your life? Reflecting on my first statement about being careful about who you make children with, people are going to be who they are. Emily's reaction and how she's conducting herself through this entire visit so far is a sign of immaturity on her part. She wants to have the one night of bedroom fun before they face reality. Keeping it all the way funky, this is the framework of thinking that led her to be in this situation in the first place. How you start is how you finish. As presented on the show, her biggest worry in Kobe coming to America is making sure they still have sexual chemistry. In her words, if the sex is blah, that will not work, then what happens? According to Emily, in China it was all about the sex. This was most likely a huge driving force in their relationship. Now, ultimately, the question is, after they've packed on years and packed on some pounds, where does that leave their relationship? A window into that answer is her response to the question of how should they spend their first evening together. Now, if Emily didn't understand how he would feel, or she had no idea how this would impact him, then this whole experience could be excused as ignorance. Perhaps, but it's still a heavy lift because she had to get her parents to go along with this logic. Nobody in this situation considered how Kobe would feel. I recall Emily's father saying when we first saw him on the show that he would be evaluating whether Kobe was here for the right reasons. My dude, the evaluation should have started at home. For instance, how different would this situation be if Kobe flew in and he decided that he wanted his first night in the United States to be a date night? If he took the position that it was more important for him to rekindle the sexual chemistry between himself and Emily than it would be for him to allow his son to see him for the first time in his life. How crazy would the internet be? Could you imagine he comes to town and tells Emily he wants to spend the night in a big city? There's plenty of time to see that kid later. We need to have fun now. It's been 2 years since sexy time. Woo, could you imagine? How lit would you two be lighting his ass up? We would be ripping him to pieces. I say we because I would be leading the pack. I would be knee deep in that booty with both feet. That video would have started out with "Book that return flight, girl." Now, why is that? Because there is a ridiculous immaturity in this entire approach. It assumes that the first night will be their only opportunity to be together. I thought he was coming to marry Emily. This means they have the rest of their lives to work out the sheets. It also assumes that their romantic relationship should take exclusionary priority over their paternal responsibilities. When you have a child, particularly while they are still a baby, that child is your priority. That's the gig. The biggest and most important test for her as a custodial parent is to ensure that the non-custodial parent is as committed to the child as she is. At least initially, Kobe passed this test. Also, I have to point out that there is a haunting undertone to the way that she presents their sexual chemistry. She acts as though if they aren't together romantically, Kobe cannot have a relationship with his son. It struck me as very disturbing, and I hope that I'm wrong. What was even crazier to me and even more irresponsible was while they were at the restaurant, Emily started hammering Kobe about how much money he saved up and where his money was and how the investment went and blah, 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 blah. At first sight, it was presented as, I need help with the baby. This most certainly would be true, and I would never disagree with that. But I get the very subtle impression that the reason she found concern about Kobe's finances was far more selfish. Emily wants the fantasy, fantastic dream wedding experience. She wants a real ring, not the one that he bought her for $100 or whatever whatever the case may be, she wants the big ring, she wants the big wedding dress, she wants the big wedding, and she wants the reception and all that stuff that goes with it. Now, some would argue that she has every right to that, and I don't disagree that she does have a right to that if that's what they could afford. But that's not the situation here. You guys are struggling along and you have a child, so your priority has to be that child. So any money that you have should go towards that child, or making sure that you can ensure the best possible life and lifestyle for that child as you can possibly give. This means if you have to suffer and maybe have a smaller ring or a smaller wedding or a smaller dress or whatever the case may be, then that's what you do. Weddings are about the day. It's a celebration for the day. What you want to focus on is the marriage. And more importantly, you want to focus on being parents in conjunction with the marriage, making sure that relationship is strong, making sure that your child is strong. And this is kind of the yeoman's tale and lessons for guys like Kobe and Kobe. This is why it's hard to have serious committed relationships with reformed bad girls. If we're going to be honest, there's a certain selfishness that manifests itself in their carefree behavior. The same mindset, tendencies, behaviors that make them fun to hang out with and easy to go home with is the same element that makes them hard, if not impossible, to be in a relationship with. Bad boys, as much as bad girls, they typically have trouble considering anybody else's feelings or how their actions will impact somebody else. As long as it makes them feel good, consequences be damned. The problem is, other people around you, particularly the ones who love you the most, will suffer the consequences right along with you. So in short, when Emily was running wild in China, I'm sure she wasn't taking into consideration that her decisions could potentially lead or impact her parents when she came home with Coben. Like same, when she decided that she was going to spend the night away from Coben and spend the evening with Kobe on a date night, she didn't take into consideration the feelings of Kobe or Coben, who had never seen his father. Let's be clear, people can change, but only when they want to. This should never be confused with somebody who is forced to change their behavior due to their circumstances changing. Unfortunately, they haven't really changed because given the opportunity, they will revert right back to the person that they were before. It feels more like Emily has changed because she had to. Emily found herself as a single mother with a father who lived in a different country. Due to her financial situation, she finds herself relying on her parents to maintain a lifestyle. This comes with demands and expectations. So therefore, Emily can't be the person that she wants to be and the person whom she is because her parents put up guardrails to keep her on the right path. Now, my hope for this season is that I'm completely wrong, and I hope that Emily is a giving, caring, loving parent who is putting Coben 100% first, and this is just a lapse in judgment. We'll see what happens, and for now, this is James, this is my take on reality, and I'm out! 'Cause I've been living life